Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. We are doing a little bit of ballistic testing today with a French 1935A pistol, and more importantly, French 7.65 by 20 millimeter pistol ammunition. Now the reason I'm doing this is I'm trying to get my MOS 38 submachine gun working, and there is some question as to what is the proper ammunition to use in it. I have three different types to test out today. We have this, which is commercial reloaded ammo from Buffalo Arms. We also have some commercial reloaded ammo from Reed's Custom Ammo, and I have some original French military steel case surplus ammo. So we're going to try all of them, and we're going to see how they chronograph. The original spec for this ammo was an 88 grain bullet at about 1,175 feet per second. The two commercial types of ammo I have are 85 and 86 grain bullets. So basically the bullet weight is correct. I just want to see what the velocity is. In prior experiments I've done, neither of these have successfully cycled the pistol, but I've never put them on a chronograph before, and I want to know exactly what the numbers are. So let's get started. So, Buffalo Arms. Ready? $1,033. It did not, however, chamber a new round. 982 feet per second. Let me write that down. And then that shot recocked the hammer. It ejected the empty case, but it did not cycle far enough back to load a new cartridge. Let's do another one. 919. And this one didn't quite fully eject the case. Next up, we have Reed's Custom Ammo. $963, and a failure to eject. 802. Failure to eject. In fact, that time it didn't even come back far enough to hit the ejector. $847. And now we're going to try original French surplus ammo. Steel jacketed, or steel jacket and steel case. Corrosive. And this does not have a good reputation, so I don't know if this is actually going to fire or not. Give it a try. Well, that's not a good start. Give it a few seconds. With a hang fire, you don't want to necessarily immediately open the action in case it's just the primer's fizzling and it's going to fire in a moment. After a few seconds, we're pretty much safe from that. I'm going to give this a couple more hammer strikes, and maybe it's just a bad primer. I would say that one is definitely a dud. Woo, we got one. 1,085. And did it? Oh, it fully cycled. Awesome. Let's see if we can get another. Well, not that. Okay. Got one more in the mag. All right, well, I was hoping we would get a couple shots, but at least we got one, and it was, I think, the highest muzzle velocity of any round we fired all day today. So, let's go back to the office, and we'll tabulate all these numbers and see what the results are. So after looking at the substantial difference in the numbers between Reed's and Buffalo, we started wondering if perhaps one of them is just using a 32 ACP powder charge. So we're actually going to try running some 32 ACP completely unmodified through the 1935A. I'm sure it won't cycle, but I think it'll probably actually fire one round at a time. .733. I did not really... Yeah, I'm a little surprised and impressed this thing actually chambers 32 ACP without any modification at all. .771. I'm going to write these down. .723. Didn't catch that one. .777. .740. All right, just for kicks, we're going to do a couple rounds. We just have 3 rounds here of 32 ACP from a Walther PP, just to see if the velocity is similar between, to see if we get any change in the cartridge, because it's not supposed to be fired through a .765 French pistol. .912. .909. .925. So the 32 fired from an actual 32 developed substantially more muzzle velocity. This case right here was fired from the Walther, and it shows no signs of anything unusual. This case was fired from the French 1935. We're getting over 100 FPS less out of it, and you can see right there that we have some blackening probably because of the semi-rimmed nature. This isn't getting a perfect seal, and so you're losing some of the pressure, resulting in a lower muzzle velocity.
All right, so the takeaways from all this. First off, these are fantastic pistols. And if anyone's interested in these, this is a good time to buy one, because right now these things are relatively cheap because it's so difficult, as you have just seen, to find ammunition that will actually run them. When I was at SHOT Show this year, this would have been January of 2018, I did stop by and talk to Starline, the brass manufacturers, and they told me, hopefully within the year, they were planning to manufacture or start manufacturing brass for .765 French Long. If that happens, I can guarantee you there will be at least a small-scale manufacture of ammunition for these pistols with original purpose-made brass instead of the brass that both Reed's and Buffalo Arms are using, which is converted 32 Smith & Wesson long brass. If that happens, ammo will become a lot more affordable and actually reliable, usable. So these pistols will definitely go up in value if and when there is ammunition available for them. So if you're interested in them now, a 1935A or a 1935S, it's a good time to get them. Anyway, setting that aside, literally and figuratively, taking a look at our final data here, we only ended up getting 1 round of original ammunition to fire, and I got a muzzle velocity of 1,085 feet per second on that. And by the way, I shouldn't say muzzle velocity. This was all done at about 3 yards, 10 feet, 3 meters. So a single data point, we tried, I think, about 10 rounds of original ammo, only got 1 to ever fire. So I will say it definitely felt snappier than either the Reed's or the Buffalo ammo. Not surprisingly, it was also the hottest, fastest, highest velocity round we fired the entire day. Now, looking at the 2 brands, Buffalo was the better of the 2. We ended up with a total of 9 rounds fired over the chronograph of Buffalo Arms. Average, or mean, our average velocity on that was 979 feet per second. That's still substantially below, like 200 feet per second below the documented official velocity for these, which was 1175. And the standard deviation on the Buffalo Arms ammo was 41 feet per second. Now, to put that in context, a standard deviation for a 10-round group, which is almost what we had here, a standard deviation of like 11 or less is really excellent. A standard deviation of 15 or less is good. and we're talking about factory ammo there. So this was 41. This was very inconsistent ammunition. We varied from a low velocity of 919 up to a maximum of 1033. So over 100 foot per second variation between the slowest and the fastest round. With that pistol, some of these rounds did cycle it, most of them did not. What was most common was for the slide to cycle far enough to eject the empty case, but not far enough to pick up a new round. So that's Buffalo. The Reed's ammo was worse in every way. Reed's basically didn't ever cycle the gun and didn't always even reliably eject the empty case. Again, we had 9 rounds fired over the chronograph. Our average velocity was 815 feet per second. So we're talking, what, like 3/4 the official, actual, intended velocity. And the standard deviation of the Reeds was 82. That is really, really bad. Our low velocity was 631 feet per second, which is like ridiculously low. Our maximum velocity with Reeds was 963. So we had 330 feet per second variation between the low and the high on Reeds. That is terrible consistency. If you want to get one of these two to run a pistol, Buffalo is definitely the better option. You could probably get it to run reliably by like cutting down the recoil spring of the pistol. That's not a good solution, and it's definitely something you would want to be aware of should you eventually come into possession of either new manufactured ammo or original surplus ammo loaded to the proper specification. You don't want to be shooting that with a deliberately lightened recoil spring, or you're going to eventually damage the pistol. But I would definitely stay away from Reeds. Buffalo's not a great option. Most of this ammo is about $1 a round, so this is why people don't shoot 1935A and 1935S pistols, is there's no good ammo out there for them. Now, moving to a slightly different topic, that 32 ACP, I was really actually legitimately surprised that it functioned. It didn't cycle, which I didn't, that came as no surprise, but just the fact that it would actually, you could manually cycle around and it would chamber without malfunctioning, lock up, and fire. I was actually really surprised by that. Our average velocity on that was 750 feet per second, compared to 915 on the Walther PP, with almost exactly the same length barrel. The 1935 has like a 1/4 inch longer barrel. As I said, I think the lack of having a perfect seal, probably because of the semi-rimmed case of the 32, lost us some velocity on that. But and by the way, the standard deviation with a cartridge that isn't even supposed to chamber in that pistol was, I believe, 20 or 21 on the 32 ACP. That was like actually professionally manufactured, I believe, Remington ammunition. In the Walther, I only had 3 shots in the Walther, but the standard deviation in the Walther with that ammo was 8. So that's good factory ammo. The Reed and the Buffalo are both not good for consistency. Now, I think people are probably going to ask, why not just load, if you hand load, you can make that converted 32 brass a little hotter and load it to proper spec. There is a bit of a problem with that, namely the 32 Smith & Wesson case that's being used as the basis there does not have an extractor groove, and converting it into 7.65 French Long requires cutting an extractor groove. Once you do that, you're substantially weakening the case right there, and while I haven't tried it myself, my understanding is that when you cut that extractor groove, if you then also load it to the proper capacity, you have a significant chance of rupturing cases because it's just too weak there. 7.65 by 20 or 7.65 French Long was originally a fairly high pressure cartridge for things in its genre. So I really hope that when Starline starts making this brass, they will make it to proper specification and we can get it loaded to proper original velocity where it will actually cycle 1935A and S pistols, and of course also cycle the Moss 38 submachine gun. So for those of you who are also wondering about that submachine gun, the solution I am going to try with mine, because I have an extra recoil spring, is I'm going to try cutting down the recoil spring in that Moss subgun to the point that it will actually function with at least Buffalo, maybe both Buffalo and Reed's ammo. because I have 2 springs, I can then keep one specifically for this underpowered commercial ammo, have a second one for proper ammunition, and that'll at least let me shoot up the several hundred rounds of commercial ammo that I currently have. So hopefully you guys found this valuable. If you didn't, well, tune in tomorrow and we'll have something different and hopefully more interesting. If you did like it, thanks for watching.